Stefon Diggs speaks. I spoke to every single Texans coach. They had some interesting things to say. And oh, yeah, by the way, the season starts and it starts in a wild fashion. Let's localize that. Let's go inside the locker room. The first in season nighttime edition. Let's see.
It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localized, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too plugged in daily digital.
What a way to start the season. We'll get some localized thoughts on that, but let's get right into it. It is a locker room. It's a little bit later than usual. We had the weather delay and we had the late game, so we'll localize that. The season is upon us. We're a couple sleeps away from Texans versus Colts. Got to interact with all the coaches, got to interact with Cade Stover. We'll hear what Cade Stover had to say about his debut. I'm a big fan of this young man. He is a Ohio State Buckeye through and through as well. Got the farmer vibe going as well, which I'm a big fan of. Just the whole Cade Stover vibe. It's easy to see why his teammates like him, and why his coaches like him as well. So we'll hear from him in a second. First, though, Stefon Diggs. He had the GQ interview. One of the more polarizing players on the squad. You mentioned Stefon Diggs. The internet goes nuts. Buffalo fans get ticked off. Here was Stefon Diggs, his first media scrum of the season. Let's hear what Stefon Diggs had to say as he met with the media types.
About your first real game with this team. Yeah, I'm extremely excited. Obviously, it's been a long camp. Seeing that we started early with the Hall of Fame game, but just being around the guys and being in Ohio, obviously a lot of team camaraderie. You got to know a lot of guys. Even spending time with defensive guys that you probably don't spend a lot of time with. But I'm excited. I've been waiting even prior to that, not just in training camp, just OTAs all season. This is exactly what I work for. So I'm excited.
Stefon, are you the kind of person that makes personal goals for yourself before each season?
Not exactly. I think personal goals are fun. More like team goals. Everybody know what I came here to do and what I'm trying to do is win. So everything that entails, week to week, that'll always change. If I gotta, run a million routes, I gotta block a million times, whatever that week calls for. So not too much on the personal side. I try to keep more team-oriented. And team success breeds personal success, anyways.
One of the receivers here talks about your guys' Miami workouts together.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was important to get together, and what did you learn about this group from that?
I just feel like the more time you spend, obviously, the more time you get, like I said, camaraderie, chemistry, seeing that you spend a lot of time with your quarterback. I know, right? I told him that. Obviously, just team camaraderie and just spending time with your guys. And that receiver, the quarterback, just being around. It builds something special, and it makes you want to go hard for guys out there. And the more time you spend, you get to know them.
Can you talk about
you to be named a captain?
Everything. At this point in my career, it's my 10th year in the league. Obviously, the past couple of years, I've been a captain. Going to a new team, new scenery, new people. And I kind of echo this from the get-go, earning the respect of my teammates, my coaches. So when I say everything, it means everything. I play this sport with a chip on my shoulder. I approach each and every day the right way. I try to. I play with a lot of passion and I work at it. So to see that your peers acknowledge that, your coaches acknowledge it, because your teammates vote for it. And people I don't think people really know that. But your teammates vote for it, and they respect me and they appreciate me. And it goes the extra mile for me. I just want to do everything I can to be the best captain.
How's you and CJ's relationship kind of? How has you and CJ's relationship kind of grown from when you first got here to now?
It's crazy. I'm going to take it all the way back to the Pro Bowl. When I first had a little bit of conversation with him and kind of build it from there. It's been a nice road as far as just growing together. Spending a lot of time. He's family at this point. He knows my little brother. He knows Joe's crazy. He spends some time with my little brother. Just as far as things kind of fall into place how they're supposed to. I look at him as family, not just my quarterback. I'm rocking with him through thick and thin. I always say, I'm with you when you're right, and I'm always with you when you're wrong. So, that's my guy. I look at him as family, and what I came here to do.
Okay. You know why I'm here?
I'm doing everything I can. I feel like as a quarterback, he makes it real easy. Not only is he a hell of a quarterback, obviously you see him at practice, he can throw any ball. But as far as like the mental part, I didn't spend a lot of time in OTAs. Caught me up to speed, even me grinding in meetings. And he makes it real light. He said, at the end of the day, do what you gotta do. I want to see you get open. Be where you're supposed to be at the right time. I got you. So.
This seems like such a great fit for you. We hear that from everybody else. We've heard it from you. Is it the people? Is it the culture? Is it all of it that makes this seem like it fits you so well?
That's kind of hard to say. I always believe in where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be there. My feet are right here. This is where I'm at. And I have like always saying, like, I don't talk bad about my old girlfriend to make my new girlfriend feel good. I'm saying, like, that was a good fit too. With some great people over there. But being here, this is where I am right now. This is where God placed me. And it's amazing people here. You know what I'm saying? As far as like it being a good fit, this is where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? This is where I'm placed. It is some great people here. I can't say there's a lot of Southern hospitality here, even on this team, even around the building. I'm just happy to be where I am. I can't say it enough.
Stefon,
everything you say is
all right.
Right on.
Two more guys. You heard everything.
Two more.
I like the tempo of this media scrum, by the way.
You get to design your own shoe.
I like the tempo.
Complex, stylish player of the year. Just seeing, seeing the stuff off the field that you're interested in getting recognized. How rewarding is that for you?
It's fun. I kind of give it a 30% rule. When I'm not playing football, I give all the things I love outside of football 30%. I still got to work out and do all the things in the off season, but seeing things like that coming to fruition, I'm extremely blessed. I'm a creative through and through. Away from football, I kind of like treat it that way. Obviously being fashionable, and I think it's all fun, but it's something I kind of hold near and dear to my heart. Things I have a passion for outside of football, but obviously I'm at work. I try not to get too much into my personal life, but I will share that it's a special feeling. Not too many people had their own shoe, and then my shoe did well. People, it was received well, and I made it with love. That family and friend concept, and a lot of my inspiration and motivation comes from football, comes from my family, comes from my friends, obviously my family and friend shoes. So just to know things are happening well, it's a lot of glory to be given to God. So for me, I'm thankful, and hopefully we can work on another one to keep some more good things going. I got a lot of things in the queue right now, but I try to give it a little bit of time because this football thing I want to work.
When it comes to the captaincy, is that something you wanted? Is it something you strove for? Or is it just kind of happened?
Well, I take that comment back. Personal goal, it was a personal goal, but it was so personal that I didn't really share it with too many people. It was just something that I feel like I had to work for, I had to earn, something I wanted for myself, not just for me. I feel like being a captain and that level of accountability not only just holds those around you accountable, but holds yourself accountable. You are who you are. You can't run from that. And I did want to be a captain. I want to be able to lead this team to not only victory, is just working hard and consistently setting the standard.
Okay.
And working hard and, playing at a high level, competing at a high level, and being yourself. I got here from being myself. I wasn't nobody I wasn't. Kind of going back to what you said as well. With CJ, he told me to be myself and take pride in me. So that's why we brought you here. So
okay.
It feels good. I'll take one more question if you got it.
On a recent,
I was happy.
I just saw on the GQ interview that you said, "I am who I say I am." Obviously, there's a lot of different narratives out there, but from your perspective, who is Stefon Diggs?
I'm a man of integrity.
Okay.
I'm a man that works hard.
What's up, class?
I find myself from working hard and earning everything that I get. Like, common misconceptions happen all the time. I'm not mad at them. And, as far as like with a narrative, it's easy to go with a narrative. You want to do your research. And it's all word of mouth. I've been in a couple buildings at this point. It's crazy because you kind of got to rock with the narrative, I guess, if you don't know me. But if you're in the building and you know me on a personal level, it's my peers. You can ask my peers about me, what kind of man I am, what kind of player I am. I've been the same guy. They can echo it. They'll say it more than I will. But I'm a man of integrity. I'm a man. I pride myself in hard work. I pride myself in showing up each and every day and putting my left in front of my right, giving everything I got. So I'm going to die with that.
Oh, there you go. That's Stefon Diggs. I like the entire tempo, the entire feel of that. That was the most crowded that a scrum has been, and I think Diggs is handling himself well at the moment. I never heard a teammate say a bad thing about him, but it seems like at the very least he's kind of on his best behavior, regardless. I want to get into this Chiefs Ravens game. Chiefs and Ravens start off the season. Two teams that obviously the Texans are chasing. Two teams that the Texans will face in December. One looking to three-peat. One, the number one seed last year. They're looking to just kind of get over that hump. Obviously, they're a little ahead of the Texans when it comes to, first of all, they beat their ass twice last year, and they more battle-tested, a little bit closer to the Chiefs on paper heading into the season than the Texans are. But it was a really, really good ball game. Localized thoughts, because this is a Texans channel. Just localized thoughts that come to mind. First of all, the new kickoff rule. We'll hear from special teams coach Frank Ross in a second. I had an interesting interaction with Frank Ross about the new kickoff rules, what he has gathered from the small sample size he has, and just the drills that they run. Like, do they invent those? Where do they find those? We'll get into that. But I think both of these teams, and these are pretty smart clubs. It seemed like for the most part, they were just like, F it, we're going to kick it out of the end zone. You can have the ball on the 30. Used to be the 25, it's the 35 yards. Isn't going to make us, put our players at risk. In the big scheme of things, what are you saving for yards? I like that approach. I like it more times than not. I'm not saying you do it all the time, and maybe you change it up and you can catch them off guard, but kick it out of bounds, or kick it out of the end zone touchback, give them the ball at the 30, and just don't mess with it. Don't ask Fairbairn to pitch like it's golf or anything like that. Just have him do what he's always done. And I don't want to mentally mess him up when he's kicking field goals. So I kind of see that these two clubs did this in this game, and I kind of wonder if the Texans are going to do that. So that's localized thought one. Localized thought two, Xavier Worthy looked good for the Chiefs. I do think that these small receivers for the Chiefs are going to wear down in December between Xavier Worthy and Hollywood. I don't think they're going to like that cold weather. I think the grind might get to them. But Xavier Worthy, you knew it. I knew it. He was going to be a Chief. It was destiny. Buffalo made it easy. He was going to be a Chief. He had the touchdown on the reverse. He had the touchdown catch. We're going to see highlight plays from Xavier Worthy. I don't know if you have him in fantasy or whatever. If I had him right now, I would trade him. I would trade him right now because I don't think this continues. And I like X. I'm actually worried about Adonai Mitchell from the Texans' point of view. I thought he was the better receiver at Texas last year. And they've apparently been lining him up in the slot. But in Kansas City, they got someone that they can make plays with. We'll see how long he lasts and how he holds up as the season goes on. But they definitely improved their playmaking with Xavier Worthy. We got to look at that early on. Baltimore's offensive line sucks. It's not good. And Chase Daniel, I think today on Fox Sports said that he had heard from people inside the building. He's a very well-connected guy. He's a hardworking guy in media now. He'd said that the offensive lines, there were concerns about it sucks. Lamar Jackson made it look a little bit better than it actually is, but it is not a good offensive line at all. It's not good. It's bad. And Lamar Jackson, I see that he's getting I see that he's getting criticism in the comments, and it's actually kind of funny to me how people talk about Lamar Jackson. There's got to be a point where Lamar gets over the hump, but he is the lipstick on the pig of a bad offensive line. And I know that he missed, and I'm already seeing it right now. Lamar's accuracy is in question. I can think of 7 QBs I'd take before Lamar. Lamar mismanaged the clock at the end. He should have had 1 or 2 more plays. CJ would never. How did he mismanage the clock? He obviously missed 2 throws. How did he mismanage the clock? I would love to know that. Let me know how. Let me know how that works, Cebu. I'm legit curious. How did Lamar Jackson mismanage the clock there? I watched a completely different game than you. Let me know that. Space 713 says Lamar missed 2 critical throws towards the end. He did. But you know what? Lamar also, there's times where he creates throws that no one else could create, where he's running for his life, where he makes one guy miss. He spins to his right. He spins to his left. He jukes. And then he has to make a throw with a bunch of 300-pounders trying to knock his head off. A lot of quarterbacks in that situation would have been sacked. So I don't disagree. Like if you're telling me that you just get to sit there and make throws and you have to throw it on the money, then yeah, there's probably some quarterbacks that you'd rather have than Lamar Jackson. But in that situation, that game's over a number of times because behind that crappy offensive line, the other quarterback ends up getting sacked. Lamar Jackson had 122 yards in this game. He had 122 yards rushing. You know what the leading rusher in the NFL had last year per game? I got this pulled up right here. It was 95 yards per game right there. Let's zoom that in a little bit. 95 yards, Kyron Williams. Christian McCaffrey averaged 91. Lamar Jackson had 122 yards today. And he created all types of offense for the squad. So yeah, he missed a couple of throws, and we can sit here and say, well, you know, so-and-so would have made that throw and he's got accuracy issues. Behind that offensive line, there's not many quarterbacks that have their team in the game like Lamar Jackson did. And I think Tommy brings up the best point. He's in trouble behind that O-line this year. Fact. 100% fact. No doubt. Big Steve, here we go. This just gets crazy. We saw Deshaun with a terrible O-line, and he at least threw the ball down the field. All Lamar does is throw to running backs. Okay, let me look that up real quick. All he does is throw to running backs. Okay. This is what I don't like about Lamar Jackson. Like, his criticism is valid, but people just start making stuff up. All he does is throw to running backs. Okay, let me look at this. Isaiah Likely had 9 catches for 111 yards. Rashad Bateman had 2 catches for 53. Zay Flowers had 6 for 37. Mark Andrews had 2 for 1. Nelson Aguilar had 1 for 6. And he had 6 dump downs to Justice Hill. So 20 out of his 26 throws were to receivers or tight ends. And they were some good throws. I don't mind the criticism. I think it's amusing. I think it's funny. I think the goalpost moves. He goes from this guy can't play quarterback in the league to, oh, well, it's a fluky MVP and it was a gimmicky system. Then the system changes. He wins the MVP. Well, he can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Who the hell can? Who the hell can? Who has? Burrow did it once. AFC quarterbacks don't beat Patrick Mahomes. It hasn't happened. So, yeah, I get the Lamar Jackson criticism. He missed throws when it mattered. It's simple. It's not simple. He spun out and created some of those throws. Those are throws that are only possible because of him. It's not that simple. Yeah, it was a bad throw. The Likely throw was bad. But he's creating time on that. At the end, he's creating time. So, yeah, he missed the throws. He'll say that. But those throws are only possible because he's a super freak. So if you like CJ Stroud, I get it. I like CJ Stroud too. I like Patrick Mahomes. I like Josh Allen. I like Jordan Love. I like a lot of quarterbacks. But the Lamar Jackson stuff's weird. Like, we just make stuff up. Like, he only throws to running backs. You're just making stuff up. Why? Like, what's the reason for it? That's what I don't get. This is what's the reason for making up stuff about Lamar Jackson? Like, what's the why are you doing that? Is there there's got to be like some deep meaning, because you're not the only one who does it. I'm not trying to pick on you, but it happens way too often. Yes, he missed 2 bad throws. Okay, he only throws to running backs. Come on, man. The real deal, H-Town Fan 84. Lamar is not consistent throwing the ball down the field. He always throws over his receivers. Always? I mean, he's won an MVP, man. 2 of them. I don't know about always. Yeah, he's not consistent throwing the ball down the field. That's a fact. I agree with that. That's 100% a fact. Yeah, he's not consistent. A lot of guys aren't. So it happens. So, yeah, you're right. I do think the Texans should be very thrilled, though, with what that offensive line looks like as we continue to localize it. Because the Texans are elite on the edge. That offensive line sucks. It's not good. Now, the linebackers got to be more disciplined, got to figure it out. But that offensive line is not going to hold up. I will say this, though, about Baltimore. Likely is a problem. He is a serious problem. And I know most of you are in fantasy football. Some of you might have Mark Andrews. I'm a big Mark Andrews guy. I am very glad I don't have him in fantasy this year because I don't even know that he's the best tight end on Baltimore anymore. I think Likely is. I think Likely is very, very good. And I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of teams. They're going to be the other thing about this is both of these teams' receivers are unflattering. I mean, Xavier Worthy I think he had 2 catches. He had the reverse. Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy is the number 1 wide receiver for the Chiefs. I think Flowers is a really, really good player. Outside of that, they got Rashad Bateman. I guess you could say Likely's like another extra receiver. Texans are really, really elite at receiver. These 2 teams that the Texans are chasing are not. So who will see? We'll see what exactly that looks like when it goes down that. He won MVP because of rushing yards. Okay. That's like you're just continuing to make stuff up. Like what is it about Lamar Jackson that causes you to just make stuff up? Like what's the underlying thing? What are we doing? Like what's the deal? He completed 67% of his passes last year. He had 3,678 yards, 24 touchdowns. So he won it because of rushing yards. Okay. He had 821 rushing yards last year. Like, what's the reason? Like, give me like, why is this? Because criticism, like Peyton Manning got criticism for not being able to get over the hump, but it was based on fact. It was based on fact. Well, he didn't play good against Belichick. He couldn't outplay Tom Brady in the big scene. They needed to be in the dome. What is the desire to make stuff up about Lamar Jackson? Where does this come from? Like, what's the underlying reason why stuff is just flat out made up? I would love to know. I don't get it. I mean, 67% of his pass. He had a higher completion percentage than Josh Allen. He had a higher completion percentage than Patrick Mahomes, or the exact same completion percentage as Patrick Mahomes. Jared Goff was 0.1 above him. What's going on here? What did Lamar Jackson do? Is it just like a goalpost move because it was there? I'm already starting to have nightmares about Tunsil and the new emphasis on the false start. He'll be fine. Laramie's going to be fine. He'll be good out there, for sure. We'll see how this looks. But I think for the 2 teams that the Texans are chasing, neither one of them look too bad. And we'll have to get a look at what the Texans look like on Sunday before we get to the Colts thing. But the biggest takeaways are the Chiefs obviously got a new weapon. Baltimore's got a new weapon and Likely that you probably have to worry about. And the other thing is the Texans make me nervous when they're covering tight ends. So the Likely thing and having Likely and Andrews makes me a little bit nervous. Seems like they've had like trouble with tight ends for a while. And then the kickoff rules and the Lamar Jackson stuff. So we'll see how that whole thing goes. But that's really my bigger takeaway. Jim says Mahomes and CJ are the top 2 QBs in the league if CJ doesn't have any regression from last year. Okay. Look, CJ's great. CJ's elite. CJ can extend plays, and CJ is one of the more accurate passers. So yeah, I agree with you. So it'll be interesting to see how that whole thing goes. But that's the localized thoughts of the Chiefs. The Lamar Jackson thing is just funny to me. I mean, it's very amusing. I honestly think that it's just a matter of it's people who just don't want to be wrong, and you just can't admit it. Like I was a Bryce or bust guy. Hand raised. Now it's easier to prove it or whatever, but I was a Bryce or bust guy. I'm glad they got CJ. Okay. I want a Bryce Young, Bryce or bust. Y'all heard it. We've been doing this digital thing for creeping up on 2 years. Bryce or bust. Yes, me. That was me. Yes, I was. It's fine. People said Lamar Jackson would suck. Then he didn't suck. Then it was like, well, he sucks more than the elite. And then he gets in the elite, and it's like, well, he can't do that. It's weirdo behavior, honestly. When you start making stuff up about a guy that has 2 MVPs, that it is kind of the lipstick on the pig of his team's weaknesses. Like it's honestly weirdo behavior, and it is way too common. It is way too common. Criticize him. Say he can't get over the hump. Say he gets worse in the playoffs. I've said that. He gets worse in the playoffs. He doesn't perform as well in the playoffs. He does not. He's not as accurate as a lot of these guys in the playoffs. Okay, gotcha. He misses some throws. Gotcha. He doesn't protect himself as much as he should, and it kind of wears down. Gotcha. Fair criticisms. But when we start making stuff up about someone, it's legitimate weirdo behavior. It's legitimate weirdo behavior. Legitimate weirdo behavior. And it's way too common. Just admit you were wrong. It's okay. It's okay. It happens, man. We all have opinions. It goes. Sports are fluid. It's not the end of the world. Just say, I was wrong about Lamar Jackson. He's a good NFL quarterback. Don't move the goalpost and start making him play a different game. It's corny. All of the top Texans assistants spoke today, as did Cade Stover. Caught up with Cade Stover. That dude is a flat-out dog, by the way.
I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog.
We'll hear what Cade Stover had to say in a sec. But all 3 top assistants, Bobby Slowik spoke first, Matt Burks spoke second, and then Frank Ross spoke third. Slowik went up there, and I wanted to ask Slowik about what DeMeco said in his last answer yesterday. Yesterday, DeMeco was asked by John McClain, "Hey, Coach, what do you want to be better at this year as a head coach? What do you want to be better at?" He said he wanted to be better at communicating with his assistants. So I asked Bobby Slowik what their communication was like. And I also kind of found out what kind of note taker Bobby Slowik is along the way, as well as how his mindset has changed after interviewing for head coaching gigs. Does he have a different outlook? He gave me a long-ass answer. He actually apologized for being long-winded, which I can kind of relate to. But anytime you want to give me a 4-minute answer, Coach, it's okay with me. Here's Bobby Slowik earlier today with your boy.
Yesterday, DeMeco said the thing that he wanted to work on most was communicating with his assistant coaches. What's y'all's dynamic like this year compared to when y'all first started working together? And you personally, interviewing for head coaching jobs, do you kind of find yourself looking at how, I don't know, maybe back to Shanahan and DeMeco handle it and kind of take that information in for the possibility of one day you being one?
I'll start with the last question, and I'll go back to the first. If I forget, just remind me. Yeah, I mean, really, that was more like when I actually had to get into a head coach interview, like when I was in the cycle of going through it, in particular after our season had unfortunately ended, and then I was like in the second interview world. Yeah, there's a lot of time of reflection, you know, like your experiences help shape you. So time under Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, and then here with DeMeco, like they all did it a little different. And they all had things that they were exceptional at, and finding the pieces that kind of shape who you are and what you believe, and then figuring out how you want to incorporate that and going through that process was really something that, you know, I spent last off season going over. I couldn't even tell you. I'd have to, at this point, look at my notes to see what those are. It feels so long ago, you know, but then what's that?
Put it in the phone here, you'd still handwritten.
Handwritten on an iPad. So is that a combo? Is that a combo? Can we take that?
Works,
you know?
that works.
Yeah. And then the first part, like DeMeco talked about communicating with his assistants, like for me and him in particular, it was very easy. You know, I mean, we already had a relationship. We were very close to each other in San Francisco. You know, we're friends, not just, you know, fellow coworkers. So me popping into his office, it was probably to the point where he was like, man, someone get this guy out of here. Sometimes, like, I'd pop in and talk about anything, you know, whether it was football, what we might think on offense, how we're trying to approach a game this week, what he thinks, things he sees on film that maybe we can expose, all the way to life, kids, things like that. So that was very easy for me and him. I think as you get to a new spot as a head coach, and you're around staff that is not as familiar with you, you know, it can be hard sometimes to go out of your way and connect with everybody. And that's one thing, it is noticeable how he's done. He's made sure, like guys, don't be scared of my office just because it says DeMeco Ryans on it, and I've seen a lot more people than just me or some guys he was familiar with last year pop in and talk to him and have similar conversations that I have with him. You can tell he's making an emphasis of it, and that's important all the way. I mean, we see that. I know I'm getting long-winded, but that's across the team. I believe that strongly with our offensive players, kind of the door's always open approach. But there's times like even I don't really have much to say to Nico, but I want to call him in the office just to hang out and kick it for a minute, just so we could keep building and growing that relationship. That's really core to what the Houston Texans are, and seeing that grow and flourish all the way across the organization has been fun.
Bobby Slowik, it's interesting. I do wonder. So you go interview for head coaching gigs, and then you come back and you obviously still relatively young to the job, but there's got to be a different dynamic, because now you can kind of sense that it seems inevitable that Bobby Slowik eventually becomes a head coach in the NFL. And if CJ Stroud builds on what he did last year, it could be sooner rather than later. So how do you, even in the real world, how do you walk into your job and you still want to do it, but you got to have at least a different perspective? Like in the best case scenario for the squad, you have a different perspective of, DeMeco's doing this. When I'm a head coach, I would do that. And I'm assuming that when he becomes a head coach, he'll probably still want to call plays. So it doesn't change too much, but I do think just naturally, like when you're going and you're chasing the ultimate goal, and even if he didn't anticipate getting hired in those jobs, and maybe he was being selective, like DeMeco had said, I think that there's got to be a different mindset. But that's Bobby Slowik. Here is Matt Burke. Here's what Matt Burke had to say.
Communication with his assistant coaches. For you personally, when you're a defensive coordinator for an established defensive coordinator type of coach, is it different communication with y'all? Like, is it about earning each other's trust? How much more intense is y'all's communication as compared to
me and DeMeco?
Yeah, you and DeMeco.
He's pretty easy to talk to. Yeah, I don't know. Not. I feel like, I don't know what the word is. You'd have to ask him from his point of view. Like, obviously we didn't know each other super well last year when I first got here, and just going through that sort of process of getting to know each other. And I feel, and I think the reason that, again, I'll speak for myself, people kind of pushed us together for this sort of collaboration was like our philosophies align, and obviously defensively, and just hopefully who we are as people and stuff. So I feel super comfortable with him in those communications now. I think it's a very open. It's actually awkward. We have these new offices upstairs, so they moved us all around, and so my office. If my office door is open, like I can literally I stare into Miko's eyes. Like his office is like right across the hall, and like our doors are aligned perfectly. So like I'll be watching film, and my desk faces this way, his face is this way. So sometimes we're just kind of like looking right at each other. So it kind of makes me laugh. But yeah, I wouldn't call it intense at all. Like I think it's a very open forum. He's a I mean, you guys have spent whatever time around him. He's a very easy guy to talk to, and I think it's probably just having the year under our belt together. It's probably just sped up I can go in pretty quick and be like, hey, I think of this, or hey, what do you think about this? Or he'll just come to me and say, hey, I want to do it this way, and then that gets disseminated. However, that gets pushed out to the other coaches, or we're all together in the room and everyone's just brainstorming. He's a very collaborative coach from a preparation standpoint, so that helps. He's great, man. Sometimes different coaches have different styles. He's good. He does a good job.
All right, there you go. That's Matt Burke. And by intense, I didn't mean that him and DeMeco Ryans are like trying to fight or yelling at each other or screaming at each other or anything like that. I just think that when you're by intense, I mean like maybe a little bit more back and forth, maybe a little bit more urgent, maybe a little bit more goal oriented, because you're talking about a guy who has the title of defensive coordinator, might not always call the defense, and a head coach who oversees that guy who's an established defensive coordinator, and you're kind of trying to earn the trust. So they both have the same specialty. So I would just think that dynamic, and it might be more fascinating, the dynamic between defensive head coach and offensive coordinator. But I just think that whole dynamic between DeMeco and Matt Berg, I think it's interesting. You know, at what point do you start trusting each other, and at what point do you start trusting him? Who knows? But that's the first two phases, offense and defense. Special teams is interesting, and special teams is actually different. We have the new rules with the kickoff. Frank Ross has overseen elite special teams units the last few years. Frank Ross, let's hear what he had to say. I asked him about if anything has surprised him from the small sample size, the couple of months that he has at looking at this and putting it to practice, the new rules. And then I also asked him, because I think this is interesting, being at practice, they're doing a lot of new drills. There's new drills that they're doing to practice this new kickoff. And a lot of times you see, you're like, what the hell are they doing? And you look up, you're like, oh, okay, this is a new rule, so they're doing new drills. My question is, where the hell did those come from? Like, does Frank Ross have to sit there and decide, hey, I'm going to create some drills? Do his assistants help him? Is there some sort of coaching seminar? What is the go-to? Here was Frank Ross, and it's always fun talking to Frank. He's got a lot of juice, a lot of energy. The funniest thing about Frank is he walks up to his press conferences, and without even being asked a question, he just lays out every single scenario. Here's Frank Ross, the back and forth.
Without giving away strategy or anything, I'm not asking you to do that, but what was the biggest surprises for you now that you have like a small sample size, small body of work of what it looked like? Because I know after the first preseason game, there were guys talking about they were surprised, DeMeco, by how quick the collisions were. Like they said they were trying to avoid collisions. I think Hansen went down and all that. What are the biggest surprises like that you didn't envision with these new kickoff rules, if any?
Yeah, I think that, again, not to like say what we're doing, I think that just – it's not a surprise, but it was just excitement to see who would and how would every other team play. So this isn't like rocket science to or information to distribute, but the Colts block differently than we block in our scheme, and the Saints block differently than the Cardinals block. So if you watch just across the league, he's like, okay, that's what that team's doing. This is what, you know, and it's not going to be their final form, and neither ours. But I think that was more than anything just, hey, what is your approach fundamentally? Pro punt formation across the league, the rules are the same for standardized punt formation, but some teams are outside in, square base, and they shuffle back. We're a narrow pocket kick slide team, so everybody does it their own way, their own flavor. I think that was the most intriguing thing to really
get ready for him. Have you ever been out to dinner with someone who gets like the sweet and low or like the salt and pepper shakers, and they start telling a story with that? That's what Frank's about to do here.
Look at and study.
Did you make up any drills? I noticed there's different drills. Like, do you go to clinics to figure those out? Do you like start brainstorming and say we need to drill here? Because I'm sure you were doing the same drills for your whole career, and now you're doing these different ones. Where do they come from?
That's a great question. I think that literally in the office, like I'd be, okay, my assistant Will Burnham, okay, here's the swivel chair, okay, this is the block, and we're just figuring out like what can really, and kind of some creation going on, but also like the rules of what you're trying to do and create a run lane here, the leverage points, those aren't changing. It's just how you get to them. So just trying to marry what maybe was in the past to what we're doing as we move forward in the future. But there was some creation going on for sure, and there were some drills that were a bag of that were not good during the spring drills or training camp. All right, shelf those, and we'll move on to the next one that works better.
So this is my favorite thing about Frank Ross. Let me just pull this up real quick. So this is how he walks up. Like most guys walk up to the podium, the coaches, they walk up to the podium, they sit there and they just wait for the questions. All right, open it up. Questions for Bobby Slowik. And then John McClain will ask his question. So-and-so ask their question, yada, 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 ask the question. Frank Ross goes up there and gives you a scouting report of the special teams. Like, look at this. This is him walking in to the room. Y'all might not always see this, but just watch this. Like this guy, how much coffee does this dude drink? He never looks tired. Like every coach looks tired. Common folks look tired. Like this dude never looks tired. Look at this. Look at him just walk up there and just give the complete scouting report. Here's the weekly state of the Union from Texans special teams coach Frank Ross. You gotta love this guy.
So week one, a lot of things to be excited and juiced up for. An important note is that even though there may be, like, it was the last opponent we played in the regular season, so there may be familiarity, but week one says it doesn't really matter, and nobody's who they're finally going to be at the end way or midway through the year, them or us. So we've got to really make sure that we're on our details. So the details for us are we got to stop leading tacklers Trevor Denbow. Grant Stewart probably has the highest motor in the NFL. You guys watched him at University of Houston and playing against him the last few years. Like, it's so fun to watch him play and challenging to go against guys like that. We want somebody else making the tackles, not him. So, he's such a challenge. And then getting Ashton Dillon and Dallas Flowers back, adding Anthony Gold, a insanely productive returner. So, week one, going up to a division game, it's going to be an incredible test to start our season about, how good of a foot can we get off on. So excited to get things started.
All right, there you go. There's the intro from Frank. I don't know where he gets this from. I think McVay will do that every once in a while, but Frank just goes up there, giddy, lays it out. He shouts out like 4 special teamers. A lot of times I'll just be honest. I'm like, who is he talking about? I'm just being honest with you. Like, I don't know every team's gunner, but he throws it out there. And he does a really good job coaching special teams. We'll see how he handles this. I could see the Texans easily just kicking it out of the back of the end zone, much like we saw the Chiefs and Ravens do a couple of times. I could easily see that, and quite frankly, I would be okay with it. I have no issue with the kick it out of the end zone. Also in the locker room today, so we're gonna get Tank Dell and Nico tomorrow. So we'll hear from those two. We'll do a CJ Stroud podium reaction tomorrow morning. Hear what CJ had to say. But Cade Stover, CJ Stroud's teammate at Ohio State, I caught up with him. No nonsense. Love this guy. Again, an absolute dog. Absolute dog. I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog. And he's kind of all business, and he's going to be playing his first NFL game in a couple of weeks, or a couple days, I should say. Here is Cade Stover, a little back and forth with him. And I also asked him, I don't know if y'all have seen the Connor Stallions Michigan sign stealing doc on Netflix. I just asked him if he had seen it. Man, the farmer from Ohio hates Michigan.
First game, how excited are you to finally step on the NFL field?
I'm pumped, man. I'm excited to see what happens out there and go play ball.
You're going to be, I'm assuming, doing some fullback responsibilities when you go in motion block. How comfortable are you with that?
Very. It's been a little adjusting at first here, but I'm feeling, as I keep going more and more, it's like anything else, you just keep more and more comfortable, more confident with it.
It seemed like just watching you were ready for contact. Like, I was watching you before the preseason game, and there's times where you're like anticipating getting hit. How much do you love contact in the physical part of the game?
That's why I play this game. That's why a lot of people play this game. I think it's what kind of sets me a little different than some other guys. I enjoy that part of it.
Do you also enjoy hostile environments? Obviously, Big Ten, Ohio State, like 100%. Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Have you seen what it was like last year?
I don't know as much. I know college atmosphere. I know that, going in as a villain, like that's what we love doing. That's our favorite thing to do.
And this is a random question, kind of non-Texans. Did you watch the Stallions doc at all?
The what?
The Connor Stallions, the Michigan sign stealing doc?
No, I knew enough about that bullshit as it was.
We saw it. They were like pointing up and stuff like that.
You guys, I got some.
I heard CJ talk about it before too.
Like, we tried to, I don't want to get into, but yeah, we tried to throw a tight end screen and like a formation we've never used before, like ever. And as soon as I lined up out wide, we had one play from, I was going to motion back in and throw a screen to me. And when they start yelling screen when you're throwing a tight end screen, that's when you know, like, what the fuck is this? We never ran it before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can't hate Michigan any more than you already do.
No, it's not possible. But I don't have a lot of room to talk. I didn't do much. They beat us, so that's what it is.
So Texas this week, right?
What's that?
Texas this week against Michigan, right?
Texas for sure.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah. Good luck.
There you go. It's Cade Stover. So I saw some Michigan people, Houston Stressens, I guess, kind of put up the Michigan part of that. I just put up the full interview on Twitter. I didn't want the Ohio State Michigan crap to go there, although I don't think he cares. But some people were saying, well, how can you sign steal if you know, how is it stolen if you've never run it before? I think Michigan was accused of hacking into Ohio State's computer system and practices and stuff like that. I thought it was like a little bit deeper than just signals. And I didn't hear him say that the signal thing. Kind of seemed like the words were being put in his mouth there. But I'm a big Cade fan. I like Cade. He's got the nastiness, no nonsense type of stuff like that. He's got the passion. It'll be interesting to see how he handles the blocking out of the fullback position and really just the receiving, just how complete of a tight end can he be. But I think he's got the right mindset. I think he's the kind of guy that you want to have on your squad, just with the farmer background and just kind of the toughness. You like a mix of everything. Texans got a lot of flash, a lot of Stefon doing his thing, CJ doing his thing, Tank doing his thing, just kind of the gritty guys. I even throw Nico in there as kind of the gritty, no nonsense country type of vibe. So you have that with Cade Stover. We'll see how he handles his debut. Going back to the Baltimore thing, Philip asks, is Henry washed? He might be, especially behind this offensive line. If Lamar Jackson's having to run for his life behind this offensive line, Derrick Henry, it seemed like he was kind of looked like Tennessee last year, where he's kind of getting hit early and he's not as much of a physical freak, physical specimen as he once was, and he's going down a lot easier. Yeah, I mean, he's on the back end. He's been doing it for a while. Washed, like are we talking about Derrick Henry rushing for 2,000 yards? No. Can he be a serviceable running back, like a good one? Yeah, but how good? I don't know. I think that's a fair question. Brandon has a little bit of a confession. Watch this. These are my confessions. He says, I feel nervous for this season because expectations are so high. I don't know if I can handle it. Sure, there were high expectations in the 2011-13 years, but this feels different. Here's the thing. The reason this feels different is not just because of this season. The reason this feels different is because there's longevity. And I was actually, I was talking to someone who's been with the organization from the very beginning about this the other day at practice. And like, you felt good with Matt Schaub. You felt good with that squad, but you didn't anticipate that Matt Schaub could potentially be your franchise quarterback for 10 years. You thought there was like a decent window where if you played a certain way, if stuff went your way and you didn't have any bad luck, that perhaps you could make a run and you could reach the ultimate goal if you got hot at the right time. But you didn't feel like, okay, we have one of the youngest, most talented teams in the league. Everything's going perfect. And regardless of what happens, we're going to be in the mix for a long time. Now, it's obviously going to get more difficult once the salary and stuff kicks in, but you didn't feel that way. Now, to be fair, like in the short term, the Matt Schaub, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson, JJ, all those guys, like those squads, you felt like they had a better chance that year to win the Super Bowl because they were battle tested. And quite frankly, they were the best team in the league before Schaub got hurt. So they had a legit chance to make a Super Bowl run. So you felt good in the immediate, but there was also a shelf life. My thing for you, Brandon, would be Cincinnati last year. Like Cincinnati had obviously the Burrow injury, but there's been times where teams have been disappointing, but it doesn't eliminate the excitement that you have. And I think this excitement, yes, we've seen situations like Cincinnati where Joe Burrow in year 2 flips the switch and they coulda, woulda, shoulda won a Super Bowl and they took down the Chiefs. So in the short term, that could happen. But the reason you feel good about this squad and the reason the excitement's so high is because this is not like some sort of fluke. The clock is not ticking. Matter of fact, you're kind of ahead of schedule. So I don't think you should feel too bad about expectations. I think you should just enjoy the ride and see what happens with that. Thoughts on Likely over Andrews? Likely, yeah. I mean, I think he's the better tight end right now, quite frankly. I don't even think it's a question. I mean, there might be weeks where Andrews outperforms him, but that dude's fast as hell. He's a freak athlete. I thought he was hurt I thought his shoulder was more hurt than it was. He was back on the next play. So, yeah, I think Likely over Andrews. I'd be panicking if I had Andrews in fantasy. That would suck. Really, really suck. Do you think the interior O-line will struggle against the Chiefs and Ravens DTs? Look, I would focus on the Colts. Colts still got Grover, and they got DeForest. They got Latu coming off the edge. I would worry more about the Colts. I think most teams will struggle against the Chiefs and Ravens DTs. And in fairness to the Ravens offensive line, which we've criticized here, it's pretty good interior they got in Kansas City, and vice versa. But I'm not confident in the Texans offensive line. Sure, it can be better. Bobby Slowik actually said something really interesting today. He said that, Kim Davis asked him about continuity and are you more confident in your offensive line this year because there's been more continuity? And he basically said, well, I don't feel like we got enough continuity this year either. Well, that's basically Laramie Tunsil, because Laramie Tunsil was the one who was out for a while. Now, we saw Titus banged up a little bit on the back end, but I mean, that everybody else was good to go. Kenyon Green was good from the start to the finish. Titus was as well with a few hiccups. Shaq was out there. Juice Scruggs, I don't even know if that dude missed a damn snap. So, yeah, if Slowik is already saying, I don't know if we've had enough continuity, I'm just like, okay, well, that could only mean one thing. So I'm not confident. I would not look past the Colts. And that's not the hardo coaches speak where it's like, oh, just worry about the next one. No, that's not our job. We can get ahead of ourselves. We can talk expectations. We can talk about that type of stuff. That's not our job. We don't have to pretend we're coaches. Is there anything more annoying than when a media type tries to act like they're a coach? It doesn't matter to the players' locker room. No, doesn't matter. But yeah, I would just focus on the Colts because I think they got a pretty good D-line as well. But the moral of this story is Cade Stover's a dog. Very, very impressed with Cade Stover. Be sure to swarm the like button. You're in here, so go ahead and swarm it.
Swarm.
Be sure to subscribe while you're at it. And it is going to be a fun ride for sure. So check that out. The Nico Collins over-under, I saw this on BetUS. BetUS actually had the Nico Collins over-under for yards. I found this interesting just because, let me pull this up real quick. This is the BetUS. By the way, 150% back. You just have to use the code YouTube50. This isn't even an ad. This is just an interesting betting prop that I'm bringing to your attention. So last year, first offensive play for the Texans from their own 25, Nico Collins touchdown, 75 yards. This year, they returned to the same place. Obviously, they got Stefon Diggs. They got Joe Mixon, who can catch some passes as well. But Nico Collins over-under for yards in the game is 66.5. So basically, if this were the number last year, you would be cashing this ticket and you would be getting a deposit into your account on the first play of the game. 66.5 seems kind of low. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to do this, but I'm not saying that I'm not going to do this. We'll take a closer look at the props when we follow the money a little later on, but I find that crazy. BetUS YouTube 50 if you want to get 150% back on what you put in. That's a little bit crazy right there of a stat, but it could have as much to do with Diggs taking away catches and all that. So who knows? The season's upon us. Here's the beauty of it. Normally you watch Thursday Night Football, you got to wait a couple of days. There's like a low-level college football game usually on Friday. No disrespect to anyone whose squad's playing. Saturday, you got your full college football Saturday. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you got your NFL Sunday. Well, Friday, we got an NFL game in Brazil. Good one, too. Packers, Eagles. You got a full college football Saturday, starting with Texas, Michigan. Then you got the full NFL Sunday, and then you got Monday Night Football. How about that? Catch me on the couch. How about that? Catch me on the couch. How about that? Brandon Cassidy says, looking at the score over under, I definitely like the over on Nico. Go to Bet US. Deposit. Do whatever you got to do. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Practice tomorrow is at 11. So I will I'll give you the practice report, the final one. We don't even need to look. Normally when we head into a Friday, we're looking at the injury report. MJ Stewart's the only one on it. Healthy squad. So the practice report tomorrow, it'll consist more of what DeMeco says, what Nico and Tank say. We'll do the CJ podium joint tomorrow morning before practice. I'll probably get up at like 7 or 8. But there's not the Friday injury report is usually the gospel because you start getting guys out. MJ Stewart, the only one when it comes to practice. So tomorrow's going to be a very, very lovely look at practice.
We in here talking about practice.
Damn right we are. Friday practices can be stressful when you're looking to see if so-and-so is going to play or not. Stressful, man. Especially last year with how banged up the squad was. It was like a weekly Laramie Tunsil thing too. Weekly Laramie Tunsil thing. God. Remember that? You want to see a beautiful injury report. We will never see anything this pretty. I can promise you. We do these throughout the week. You guys know. I'm a stressful dude. I'm a high-strung cat. Y'all know what the injury reports look like. You want to see something beautiful, and I want y'all to embrace this. Like, I want to share this moment with y'all, and I want y'all to just like enjoy this because this will never happen again. I promise you. I know sports are crazy, and I know that a lot of time, like we do already have a couple guys on IR, Heinisch and Christian Harris, but we know that. But as far as uncertainty, when it comes to these injury reports, we will never see something more glorious and more beautiful than this. Let's look at this real quick. Look at that. We don't even have the questionable, probable, outs. It almost looks like they forgot to put something on there. Oh, there he is. Let's look a little closer. Oh, there it is. There's MJ Stewart. That is freaking beautiful. That is glorious. We will never see this again. Ever see this again. Look at that. It's full go, man. It's full go. And it is going to be a rowdy ass Indianapolis crowd. Now, I don't like this news that Adonai Mitchell's in the slot. I'm a little bit nervous about what their newcomers are going to have in store for the Texans. Shane Steichen scares the hell out of me. You give him all this time to prepare. That's nerve-wracking. Linebackers a little bit concerning, but you know what? Full go, baby. Full go. That is absolutely a beautiful sight. My goodness. Show me that one more time, baby. Show me that one more time. Oh, my goodness. You might have to leave us alone. You might have to leave us two alone here. That injury report. What a lovely, lovely sight. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Appreciate Sosa, all you cats, all you Lamar haters. It's all love. Just not trying to turn this into the basic bitch Lamar Jackson sucks type of thing. Late night stream. We'll do this same drill with Monday Night Football. Once that ends, we'll get on here. But 10:30 every night. Be on the lookout for more daily content, perhaps exclusive collaboration with your two favorite digital guys on the beat. I'm not going to name any names. The other guy may have asked about domes being the same today. Tough day for him, but he'll bounce back tomorrow. It's all good. You can't win them all. Lamar missed an open throw. My man Cody Stutz asked about if all domes are the same. Swarm the like button. Subscribe. Like, right along. Oh, yeah, by the way, look out for me on Fox this weekend. After practice tomorrow, I'm going on Fox. Guess who I'm going to be on with? The great Chancellor Johnson, DJ Bieneme of ESPN, and y'all's favorite coach in Texans history. And I know most of you, I'll speak for all of y'all. Your favorite coach in Texans history, Pep Hamilton. Y'all's guy. Not my guy. Y'all's guy. So be sure to remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for coming through. The season is upon us. What a time to be alive.
Daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localized. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too.